Hey everybody, so I just wanted to start making these videos because I was interested in joining like the spiritual community on face not Facebook, YouTube. And I had been procrastinating doing that for a while now. I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. But then I think it was like the other day I saw this like article on Facebook about Gisele Bundchen. I think I'm saying her name right, and how she like uses rituals and stuff like that to help her husband, who is a football player, be successful and win games and whatever. So when I saw that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop procrastinating and start making these videos because I really wanted to start making videos for women like me, like black women that grew up in the church and really had been taught that all of, these things were like really taboo or evil, that you should really like stay away from it. And I just kind of wanted to, you know, start my own videos. And I know like YouTube has a really vast spiritual community. I just wanted to like throw my hat in the ring, and like share my experiences and the things that help me and work for me. And like I said, specifically for black women, I mean anybody, for any, I'm making these videos for anybody, but specifically because again, being a black woman, I can only share and relate my stories and hope that other people can relate. But specifically, black women is who I'm trying to speak to and reach. But I just thought that was really interesting to see something like that come out, because normally that's like really hush hush, which is another reason why I was like procrastinating, like, because sometimes it's like, oh, you're supposed to keep that a secret, if you know about it, if you're into it, that's a secret. So when but more and more you're just, me specifically, I'm starting to see like the spiritual, and not necessarily just spiritual, but like more of the like occult, more hidden things starting to come to the light. And like I said, I just wanted to share information with women like me that kind of are interested, but still kind of like hesitant or afraid. Because again, like it is a very real thing. Like African spiritual traditions are a very real thing. It's a very real phenomenon that science is just now starting to come around and acknowledge is a real thing. And I just know so many friends that are just like, I don't know about that. Like, it's wrong. And still a lot of like Christian women that, they just refuse to open their minds to anything that is not centered and rooted in Jesus Christ. And that's like something else like I wanted to, and I don't want to, I'm not that person. Like, I'm not here to like take anybody's beliefs away from them or shame anybody for believing anything that they believe. I just really want people to think and question and know that like as an individual, like that's your divine right to do so. You're supposed to question things. You're supposed to ask questions and explore. And use your common sense so that in that exploration, like, you don't end up making but so many mistakes. I mean, mistakes are a natural part of learning and growing and exploring. Like, that's how you learn. You learn from your mistakes. So it's like, I don't want people to shy away from having questions or even trying new things because you fear like making mistakes. Like that's a part of the growing process, part of the learning process. And like again, there's like such a vast like online community about these subjects. Like if you have questions about things, you could easily look into it to make sure you're on the right path. And people online like really willing to share their wisdom and knowledge in these on places like YouTube and Facebook and just all kind of places you can find information. And there's so many books out there too. But a lot of that stuff, like I said, I'll be sharing. But I just really thought it was interesting that she disclosed, or her husband, I don't know which one of them disclosed it, that she's using rituals and altars to help her husband be successful in football. I'm telling you, it's a real thing. Now, what you use it for, again, that's depends on your intent, depends on, where you're from, how you were raised. But I just thought it was really interesting that came out. And I feel like that's a very significant thing that in, 2019, people in the limelight, celebrities, athletes, are starting to admit that they use these spiritual practices. Because I've never really been into celebrity worship. I've never really been the type of person to like fan out and stand out over celebrities. I appreciate anybody with talent, but it's like just because you're famous, like that doesn't do anything for me. What kind of person are you? Like, what are you into? Kind of a thing. And you find out oftentimes that a lot of these celebrities like really have like, they're really not decent people. Some of them, not all of them. And I don't like that. This is my biggest complaint about people who are into spirituality. And I know, like, for a lot of people, they've been taught you're supposed to keep it a secret. But my issue with that, and again, specifically with the Black community, you have a lot of celebrities that make it to a certain level and just really have you believing that it was like happenstance or just hard work or, praying to Jesus, like that's what, did it, and it's like, no, they had extra help and they reach, a certain level of success and never actually turn around and give the knowledge that they have or how all the ways they really got to that level. That's the thing for me about celebrities that I've never really liked, because I always felt like, there's something more to your success story than, you just worked hard and prayed. I just never really bought into that. Like, something else is at play here. And if that was the case, like, dreams come true and, you could do it too. Like, well, if that was the case, there would be a lot more successful Black celebrities. Why is that not the case? Or why is it, so many of them reach a certain level and, it just doesn't end up being a good thing. It just doesn't turn out right. And we can go down the line, and some of my favorites, like, Whitney Houston and Prince and so many of them, you just hear all these stories of addiction, and so many of them have passed on. Like, they just didn't make it to old age. And I'm like, why is that? And I just always had suspicions about like what really was going on, in the industry that was, making things not turn out right for the long term for a lot of these celebrities. And I don't know, I just always knew there was something more than what they were just saying. Like, nobody's that successful just off of, hard work. Because I know a lot of really talented people that work hard, bust their ass, and they still haven't, cracked the surface. So I'm like, there's something more to that. And again, now that this information is, people are starting to freely share it, I'm just hoping that more people will kind of become more curious and learn more about it, and not just to get famous. Because sometimes that's that can be a spiritual trap for a lot of people. And here's why. Again, I've been researching this for a long time, and making pacts with spiritual entities is a very real thing. It's a very real thing. I mean, some people call it pact, making a pact with the devil, like whatever you want to call it. Like, you know, that word devil is like, it has a lot of negative connotations, so I don't really like to use it. But making pacts with spiritual entities is a very real thing. And the thing about these entities is that they're very intelligent, and you have a lot of people from all races and backgrounds that see other celebrities and or see other people that are successful in something, and then they want to emulate that. They want that same level of success. And so if they find out about doing something like that, like making a pact with the devil or making a pact with a spiritual entity to get there, then, you know, they'll do that. But a lot of times people don't necessarily like count up the cost, and they take for granted, or maybe they don't know, they're ignorant to the fact of how intelligent these entities actually are. They end up making deals for things that they didn't necessarily think through. They didn't do enough research about the industry. And that's apparent, even like the business side. You can see that they didn't do a lot of research about the business side. A lot of them didn't read contracts. They don't understand business. And the same applies to the spiritual side as well. You know, you made an agreement. You know, the same way they didn't understand a business contract, they didn't necessarily understand the spiritual contract, and got into something that they eventually wanted out of. And again, some people just want to say, oh, you know, that's the price you pay when you make deals with the devil. And that's not necessarily the price you pay for making a deal with the devil. It's the price you pay for being ignorant and wanting things spiritually out of desperation, without really sitting with yourself and asking yourself, why do I want this? Why do I want to be famous, and what comes along with that? Why do I want to be extremely wealthy, and what comes along with that? A lot of people aren't asking those questions. You know, they don't care to. You know, some of them are from backgrounds where maybe they didn't have a lot of money, and the thought of having millions and just people knowing you just appealed to them, and they didn't think it through, which is another thing. You should never make decisions based on desperation, especially spiritual ones. Like that's so important. Like never make a spiritual decision based on like desperate feelings, like being extremely angry or desperate for something or hurt. Like you don't want to do anything spiritual out of those emotions, because it just can backfire on you, and not necessarily in a bad way all the time, but in a way that you could learn from. It's just really sad that you just see so much talent just burn bright and fade out in the way that it does. Because again, you can just see that a lot of these celebrities didn't really think it through. Athletes as well. Did you really take the time to think about what the physical toll being an athlete was going to take? Did you care? Same thing with singers. Did they ever take the time out to think the toll that it would take singing the same songs over and over and over again? Probably not. And then they get frustrated when they want to start evolving and growing and changing their sound, and they can't because they're stuck, in certain agreements that they didn't necessarily think through. So it's just interesting now that, people are starting to, like I said, kind of just be open about the fact that they're into these spiritual things. And, I want to encourage people to get into it too, but to be smart, to think it through, to think about your intentions when you get into anything, especially this spirituality, because it is very real. It's a very real thing. It's a very real phenomena. And as soon as people realize that, like, there's something out here that, if I ask it for something, if I make a deal with it, it'll give me everything I want. Yeah, but, don't be disillusioned or make it seem like it's evil when you didn't count the cost, when you didn't think it through. That's not evil. There's nothing evil on either side. It's just maybe, like I said, poor choices, like, not thinking it through. Any agreement that you get into, you should think it through. Same thing like when people get married, think it through. There are a lot of people, like, a couple years into their marriage or whatever, like, they become disillusioned. It's not what they thought because they didn't think it through. And to really get good at spirituality and doing your rituals, you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to, like, really count the cost. You have to be a patient person and really understand things like intention and asking yourself, like, why am I doing this? Why do I want this? What am I really looking to get out of this? And if you're used to instant gratification, this isn't for you. It's not for you. I would take time to, like, really grow and evolve, but you don't want to be somebody that's, like, immature or, like, used to instant gratification, and you get into spirituality or the occult, and then then you come out of it, like, really, again, like most people do, making it out to be something bad or evil when you just didn't count the cost. And again, not shaming, we all make decisions that maybe we should have thought them out a little bit more. But again, for newbies out there that may be curious about this is just like a piece of advice for anybody looking to get into it or has been thinking about it. So yeah, I don't want to be on too long. I honestly didn't really, this is like a last minute kind of a thing, and I'll be more intentional with the content that I post. But I just kind of, like I said, I saw that article and just wanted to kind of address it real quick and throw my opinion in. But yeah, I'll think about, more of what I'm going to say, and so I'm not rambling kind of like I am now. But yeah, I just wanted to get into that, and there'll be more. And again, if you have any questions, put them in the comments. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe.